All right, so it looks like the podcast that Ethan Klein does with Hasan Piker, leftovers, it looks like that's probably done at this point because they've been having a lot of disagreements recently, and now most of Hasan's audience absolutely despises Ethan, which is no surprise. I mean, it was only a matter of time till they turned on him. Like, starting a political podcast with Hasan Piker, I think most people could have predicted that's not going to end well. And it's funny, I remember the first episode, Ethan's talking about how they're going to be bringing justice to Republicans. Like, they should be worried that him and Hasan are teaming up together. But in reality, the only person that should have been worried about this podcast was Ethan, because Hasan has to have one of the most toxic fan bases. And Ethan, he's far left, but he is nowhere near far left enough for those people. Like, things started to go south when Ethan and Hasan were having a debate about socialism, and I guess Hasan's fans weren't happy because Ethan is too much of a capitalist, and I guess he was getting a lot of comments about it, so he addressed it and he said, "Please do not take these political conversations so personally. Being called a class traitor 1,000 times because I'm only a social democrat and not a full socialist makes me want to not have these conversations anymore, which is probably the least productive outcome." So the fact that Ethan made a post about this is not a good sign because it shows he does not know what he got himself into. Like, when he decided to do a podcast with Hasan, he should have realized this is what he's signing up for. I think anybody could have told you this is going to be pretty much the bare minimum you're going to get in terms of criticism from his audience. And then Ethan responding to this just makes it so much worse. I don't know what he was thinking, because it shows it's getting to him, and then it makes the audience aware that it's getting to him, and they'll want to criticize him even more. Like, someone posted this to his subreddit, and I'd say 95% of the comments are criticizing him and talking about how he sounds like a baby, and he's the one taking things personally. And I agree, because, again, what did he expect with this podcast? I mean, this is what he's asking for, and apparently he wanted to talk about this, so he shouldn't be very surprised when all his socialist fans start calling him a class traitor. And it's crazy because so many people warned him about this and saw something like this coming. I mean, even his own fans, a lot of them are telling him getting into politics is not the best idea, especially getting into politics by starting a show with one of the most radical left-wing Twitch streamers who has one of the most toxic fan bases. Obviously, that made things 100 times worse. Like, getting into politics is one thing, but then going about it the way Ethan did is a recipe for disaster, especially since he is obviously not very good at handling criticism, and he reads a lot of negative comments. So I don't know why he'd want to put himself through this. I guess he just didn't think about it too much. And it's crazy because he's been on the internet long enough. You'd think he'd know better, but I guess he just figured him and Hasan would disagree on some things and the audience would understand their differences and just appreciate the conversation, which, I'm sure some people do, don't get me wrong. But Ethan, again, starting this podcast, he should have understood that he is going to get a lot of criticism and he better be able to handle it. But as you saw from that Instagram post, he clearly was not prepared, and things were about to get so much worse with the conflict in the Middle East starting back up again, because pretty much everybody Ethan has associated himself with is pro-Palestine and has no sympathy for Israel, which again is no surprise, but this was definitely a wake-up call for Ethan, especially after he decided to go on Hasan's Discord server, and of course everybody on there was basically praising the attacks.
Hasan's Discord, and what I saw in that Discord was near universal praise for Hamas, near universal saying people deserved it, people near universally calling me a Zionist pig, mass murdering, genocidal freak. And if you want to know the truth, that shit fucked me up seeing that Discord, because it made me realize that a lot of these people are watching this show, and it frankly disturbed me. Listen, everyone in my periphery, everyone in my circle, all the leftist people that I watch, that I'm part of, that watch this show, because I consider myself a part of that side, are all pretty much uncritically accepting of Hamas propaganda and uncaring about the rewriting of history right before our fucking eyes about this stuff. So I'm not seeing a lot of people, even though you might look at the popular media and say, everybody's supporting Israel. The popular media's defense of Israel is cartoonishly dumb and evil. Burn them all to the ground. They have a right to defend themselves. Bomb Gaza, like psycho shit. Okay. Whole conflict anymore, really, at all, ever. And I'm frankly also thinking about putting something that I need to discuss with Hasan, but I do feel like I'm probably going to pause leftovers for the time being. I don't want to talk about it anymore. That's it. And it sounds like a lot of y'all don't want me to talk about it either.
And of course, he did continue talking about it, and things just got worse from here. But it's funny seeing him realize the audience he's attracted, and he basically went out of his way to get. I mean, he did not need to start that podcast. He could have just stuck to making fun, goofy content. But he chose to work with a guy who's known for saying America deserved 9/11, so he shouldn't be that surprised when his audience is cheering on a terror attack in Israel. So this is right on par for Hasan's audience. And Ethan, he also got into it with one of Hasan's Discord moderators. I guess he unfollowed her and she got all upset about it. So Ethan addressed it, and it was pretty awkward because not only is this Hasan's moderator, but she's also good friends with Ethan's employees. But he goes on to call her a scumbag.
That's why I followed her.
She was a mod for Hasan, and me and Lena are friends with her as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So she seems like a nice person, but they don't care about 1,500 civilians being mass murdered. Yes, right. Let's not even pretend that didn't happen, you scumbags. Okay, and then we don't know. 40 babies were definitely killed. Maybe only one was beheaded. I don't know if there was more than that. So maybe it's not as bad as we think. Is that right, Frogan? Scumbag. I'm sorry. Scumbag. What are you doing for peace? Exactly. Except coming out here and virtue signaling how fucking left you are, how woke you are, how much you care for peace or the Palestinian people more than anyone else.
It's funny hearing Ethan calling somebody out for trying to virtue signal how left they are, because that's all he's been doing for the past few years. And everybody is trying to tell him it's a bad route to go down, because it's like you're either 100% with them or you're against them. And like Jordan Peterson said, you're going to make a mistake and they will devour you, which is what's going on now. Like, Ethan's finally come full circle. You know, he spent the last few years trying to separate himself from Jordan Peterson and his old content by virtue signaling and proving how woke he is. But now after this, he's just back at the beginning and everybody thinks he's racist again. And he's getting lumped in with Daily Wire and Ben Shapiro and Jordan Peterson and all those people. Like, I thought this tweet was hilarious. This person said, "Damn, it's so funny that Ethan Klein made a whole left-leaning turnaround and apologized and acted like he was making up for prior behavior just to become a top-tier Islamophobic racist freak." And a lot of people are saying stuff similar to this. He is just getting destroyed on Twitter and Reddit and Hasan's Discord, obviously, which is hilarious because he's still very progressive when it comes to this issue, especially for somebody that has lived in Israel and his wife is from Israel and I would imagine still has family over there. But Ethan still criticizes Israel a lot, and he also donated money to a Palestinian relief fund.
The IDF is a genocidal criminal institution that Netanyahu should be tried for war crimes. He should immediately resign. I can tell you that the West Bank settlements are basically an act of war. And I don't really believe even that settlers are civilians in the same way that the people who were murdered are. I can tell you that what Israel's doing in Gaza is as evil as it can be, as evil can be.
You donated to the Palestinian Relief Fund as well, and we got a notice from ANERA. They're talking to all the other organizations as well, but we got a notice from ANERA that some of those funds have already made its way into medical supplies and food in Gaza. So that's great.
That is awesome. I've been listening to your stream for like an hour. I got a lot of from Israelis for donating because they're like, oh, it's just going to go to Hamas. But, I looked into the charity you picked and it is really highly rated. So I'm like, I don't really think this.
But none of that matters because, like I said, you're either with them all the way or you're against them. And since they've already been calling out Ben Shapiro and all those people for being racist and Islamophobic and all that stuff for the past 5 years, it's just old at this point and it really has no impact. Ben Shapiro is not going to care if you go on Twitter and call him a Zionist. But you know who does care? Ethan Klein. And that's definitely what Hasan's audience realized, you know, because they can actually get a reaction out of him in real time. You could see him reading comments, and on Hasan's stream, he starts to lose it. But this is what Hasan's audience feeds off of, you know, trying to cancel somebody or make them feel like shit by calling them a racist. That's what they're here for, you know, and everybody else, like all the right-wing people, none of that matters to them. They've already been called everything in the book, so it doesn't have any kind of impact. But Ethan, as a progressive, one of the worst things you could do is call them a racist, especially when it's coming from people you thought were your own fans or you thought were on your side. And towards the end of Hasan's stream, Ethan starts to read all the comments, and he starts like almost crying.
The reason why people feel the way that they do is because after a certain point,
what have I said that's bad faith?
I think you want me to be totally honest.
Yeah.
No kitty gloves. Okay.
The fuck, bro.
No.
That insinuation is so stupid, man.
No. Please don't get mad at me. I'm gonna be
100. Moron. You just talked down to me the whole time.
No, absolutely not. I think you're a very smart person, but you do get a little emotional on this issue.
Kitty gloves that's on. Tell me. Can you do you care that your chat is calling me racist? Do you make any attempt to modify?
I have not looked at my chat.
Moderate that at all?
I have not looked at my chat at all. But you.
I just opened it. But don't you have moderators? Do you care at all about what your audience says about me?
There's 32,000 people in here right now. The reason why people are saying that is because of the conflations that you made, Ethan. That's why, I can't stop people from viewing you a certain way if you're going to make these comparisons that they've heard from actually racist people. You literally implied that Jewish Voice for Peace would be akin to a capo in this circumstance.
Oh, you are so bad faith for saying that, and fuck you for even putting that out in the world. That was not my point.
Made this comparison.
My point was that you can find anybody to defend anything. That was my point.
You also made a comparison that this slogan is akin to the swastika changed over the course of its trajectory as a symbol for Nazi Germany. And then also on top of that stated that the Confederate flag means something different to the Southern folk that want to promote heritage, not hate. Those people, when they say that, are cynically saying heritage, not hate. It doesn't mean slavery to me. Those people are in the wrong. These people that are saying from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, are not in the wrong. They're in the right. That's the major difference. They are morally righteous. That's why a better comparison would still be to make a comparison to Black Lives Matter in the way that some white people foresee or perceive Black Lives Matter. And if I'm not going to listen to what white people who are against Black Lives Matter have to say about the slogan itself, then why would I listen to people who are defending Israel on what this slogan means? Because the broadest majority of people who consider this to be an anti-Semitic slogan are, in my opinion, deploying it cynically. Not you.
By the way, I'm not even defending I'm not even I'm just trying to tell you guys how it feels. And I'm fucking shocked that you don't care that people in your chat are saying, who the is this child cold, arrogant,
Ethan, I love you, but there's only so much I can do.
How can you be surprised when your Discord is literally full of
Ethan, I love you, but there's only so much I can do if you're making that argument. You know that, right? At a certain point, you're an adult, and the words that you're saying are going to be perceived by people in a certain way. I can't constantly tell my community to shut the fuck up, which I have, and I think they should. But at the end of the day, it's because I know you personally, and I think your heart is in the right place. But they don't know, so it's hard. It's hard for people to view what you're saying beyond your words. I'm just telling you the
perspective. You disagree. That's it. I mean, what the fuck do you want from me?
Okay, but do you get where I'm coming from? That's why I'm trying to
understand your analysis, dude.
Okay,
I understand your analysis.
I don't want my community to hurt your feelings. I don't want your feelings to be hurt either.
They're not hurting my feelings. They're monsters. They're psychotic.
I think you're a good
not
person.
All of them, but there are a lot of them, and you don't seem to care about moderating it at all.
That's not true.
Whereas when you're on my show, we really do care about what people say about you on Discord and chat, and we moderate it to keep a good environment. But you don't seem to fucking care about
There's no way I can shut off my chat. I mean, I can put it in email.
And I'm not a fucking radical Jew. I'm not even a religious Jew.
No,
I have no stake in the game, and this is coming from.
I know.
And it's crazy because you could tell Hasan is holding back here. You know, if this were anybody else, he'd be going off on them, calling them a racist, Zionist piece of shit. And it's funny, Ethan's all surprised by the chat and Hasan's Discord because, I mean, Hasan thinks all the same stuff they do. But I think Ethan's finally slowly starting to realize that. Like, Hasan, if you weren't friends with Ethan, he'd be going so much harder on him here. You know, like, whenever he responds to somebody in the chat that he disagrees with, he flips out.
You fucking stupid? Do you think the Israeli state was just like peacefully coexisting? And then these guys came in with fucking gliders out of nowhere? Don't say fuck off, dude. They didn't deserve it, you fucking idiot. My goal is solutions. Your goal is the continuation of violence. You want way more than 260 people dying. You want every single Palestinian to be fucking executed ruthlessly in the streets so that you can build another fucking theme park in Gaza. You fucking baying pig. You fucking bloodthirsty, violent pig dog. Suck my
Actually, you know what? Go listen to Hasan. People say, I need to go listen to Hasan. This is bullshit. Please, go listen to Hasan. Who, by the way, yells at people in chat, calls them Zionist genocidal monsters for suggesting that the hospital wasn't bombed, okay, by the IDF, which is the same fucking thing that Hasan's fans come and tell me. So, that. The PLO is...
Yeah, so that's more of the reaction you'd expect from Hasan, but he somehow manages to stay very civil when he's talking to Ethan. I don't know how he does it, because Ethan's usually pretty worked up, but I guess maybe he figures Ethan's getting enough shit from his audience or something, I don't know. But it's funny that Ethan's complaining about the chat and he wants Hasan to moderate it, and Hasan's basically like, there's nothing I can do, because Hasan basically said the same thing Ethan's saying to XQC, and he's calling him a shitty friend because he wouldn't moderate his chat when they're talking shit about him.
Over random dumb shit and bringing my name up for no fucking reason. And I thought that you were just allowing that shit to run rampant in your chat, and I thought that was fucked up, especially as someone who thought we were friends. I think that's a reasonable expectation for someone who you consider to be a friend.
Yeah, so by Hasan's own definition, he's pretty much a shitty friend. But again, Ethan, what does he expect from these people? Like, you chose to associate with this audience. You didn't need to. You could have just stayed making fun content. But now he's pretty much just backed into a corner. And eventually, I think Hasan's audience is going to beat him into submission. He's going to have to, like, apologize or something. Or maybe he's just done talking about politics. I think that is probably the best move. Like, I'd hope he finally learned his lesson after all this. But we'll see. And let me know what you guys think about it all down in the comment section. And then make sure you check out my Patreon account. There's a ton of extra content on there that's only available on there. There's probably over 40 videos at this point. Like, if you want to hear about the time Ethan Klein actually gave me a shout out and talked about how he's a fan of my channel, it's just too bad he doesn't listen to what I have to say about him, because he probably could have avoided all this. But if you want to hear about that, or the downfall of Milo Yiannopoulos, or the degeneracy of Ari Shaffir, or the degeneracy of Adam 22, or if you want to hear about some really cringy Joe Rogan Experience episodes, like one with Amy Schumer, if you want to hear about any of that, make sure you go check it out. I'll put a link in the description, and then hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I'll catch you at the next video. Alright, so Fresh and Fit just continue to embarrass themselves, which is always hilarious. I mean, these two, ironically, are probably some of the funniest people on the internet. Like, if you remember last time I talked about them, Walter had knocked up this girl who originally people were warning him about and said that she was into him for his money and was trying to use him, but he would defend her. You know, he's acting like she was down to earth and just a normal person that was into him for him and didn't care about his money. But then when she got pregnant, him and Myron claimed she was actually an escort that, of course, was just using him for his money, which is embarrassing considering Walter said he was in love with her. He introduced her to his mom. He bought her expensive jewelry. And I think he said he was going to get her an apartment in Miami at one point, too. But still, Walter is in complete denial about it and doesn't understand why people say he pays for girls.
We pay hoes. Show me one time where we pay hoes. Pay hoes for what? Like to smash. I'm like, bro, yo, so I made the vlog, right? In
we would have been
Barbados.
exposed by now if that's the case.
100%. I made a vlog in Barbados, right? Oh, they're going to say, oh, they're bad, but Fresh paid them. Nigga, where did they pay them? They booked their own flights. Nigga, what the fuck is wrong with y'all niggas, man? But
and of course, Walter is going to be all defensive about it, but it's crazy Myron still has the audacity to act like Walter's never been exposed for this. Because the last time it happened, you know, it's happened multiple times, but the last time Myron was the one that exposed him. I mean, he was on his podcast trying to convince people that Walter had been dating an escort.
Sex workers, not escort. Okay. What's this? in this photo that you guys can see here, we can see Jin Chen meeting up with a potential client. Who would have been exposed by now if that's the case.
100%.
Yeah, so Walter's last serious relationship was with a girl they claim is an escort. So by their own definition, Walter's a simp. I mean, there's really no denying it. But of course, whenever people call him that, he'll just say that they're haters that are projecting because, you know, the people around him are never honest with him, as we see with Myron here. So I don't know if Walter will ever have any self-awareness unless they have on more guests like Tommy Sotomayor, who they had on recently, and he actually kept referring to Walter as a simp, which was hilarious, and Walter kept getting really offended by it. It started because they're talking about that situation with the female police officer who got attacked recently, and Walter was talking about how he felt bad for her, but of course Tommy and Myron, their take on it was, well, women shouldn't be police officers, and she should have known what she was getting herself into, and like if this were a man getting attacked, people wouldn't have cared as much. So because Walter just felt bad for her, and because of all the other stuff, you know, I'm sure Tommy's aware of the escort and Walter paying for girls and everything. Because of all that, then Tommy started referring to Walter as the simp du jour, which he said means the simp of the day. And Walter started to get offended by it, so Tommy tried to make it seem like as a compliment. He's like, oh, don't take it as a diss. I mean, I have daughters. We need more guys like you out there. We can't have all alpha males like myself.
This. Not a knock on you. But it's three men at this table, and you did what's actually more normal than what Myron and I did, which was we viewed it from she shouldn't be there. But you know what the first thing you did as the simp du jour? What you did was you said, that's wrong, he hit that woman, which is what most men would do. It is very difficult to say, well, this woman chose that field, she shouldn't be in that field.
You can vote, but you got to vote alongside a male. I think that's the way it's got to go.
How do you feel about that simp du jour?
Bro.
It just means the simp of the day.
The point I was trying to make was that, like, in that scenario of her just being in that position, like, she did choose it, but let's be real here. She's naive. She didn't know what was happening. She was just there for a movie role. Right?
How dare you?
Yes, simp du jour. Now listen, let me tell you something.
This nigga, bro. This nigga, man. Yo, this nigga, bro.
No, he's a simp du jour, but I appreciate him for being it. Let me tell you why. That's why I don't want him to think that it's a diss. I have daughters. If we don't have men that think like you, where the f would we be with a bunch of men that think like me? We don't have to. So they will say this, but we will have a man like you or me sometimes or you sometimes.
Why you keep saying me?
No, listen to what I'm saying. That's why I'm bringing things. I'm really good at conversation.
I'm understanding. I just have to be.
No, but I'm saying I bring things.
It's all of us. It's all of us.
That's why I said it's us at each time. Here's the point.
So he was starting to get defensive because, I mean, obviously calling somebody a simp on a Red Pill podcast, that's like the ultimate insult. But he's not wrong, you know, and I'm sure Myron probably knows that too. Because if anybody else dates an escort, Myron would be the first person to call him a simp. And I'm sure Walter would too, because he just has no self-awareness. And sadly, he probably actually believed that the escort was in love with him, which is crazy considering his podcast is a Red Pill podcast. I mean, it's like this guy throughout the years of doing his podcast has learned absolutely nothing. And he's pretty lucky that Myron stuck with him through all that, because Myron doesn't seem like the kind of guy that would have the kind of patience for somebody like Walter. You know, because Myron will talk about how important it is for guys to have discipline and work on themselves and go to the gym and stay away from partying and drugs and alcohol and 304s. But Walter seems to struggle with pretty much all that stuff, and he's more interested in just partying and throwing money at girls and trying to get laid. Like, also, him and Myron started throwing these yacht parties, which I'd imagine is mostly Walter's idea, and I wouldn't be surprised if Myron wants to stop doing it after this most recent one, because this was just embarrassing. And he also got a lot of shit for promoting this on Twitter, because first of all, the tickets were $1,000, and he said only $1,000 because the last one was $3,500, which is insane. I don't know who the hell is paying for that. And they're also pretty much paying for the girls to be there because obviously they get in for free and they get free drinks and free food and everything. So the guys are paying $1,000 each to pretty much hang out with a bunch of 304s, as Myron would call them, you know, because these girls were the kind of girls you'd see on the Fresh and Fit podcast that Myron is usually making fun of and bashing and talking about how bad they are for men. So pretty much all the comments on the post where he was promoting this party were calling him out for being a hypocrite. And he was responding to a lot of comments, but he didn't really have anything to say. He's basically just like, I've been talking about this party for months, so you're an idiot. But he's also trying to act like this is something different than just going to the club, because it was also a networking event. But people are like, who are you networking with? A bunch of girls that you're usually telling men to stay away from. And like this comment says, Myron's the one that's always talking about how these girls are opportunists and they're just trying to use you. So why is he setting these people up to be finessed? And Myron's response was, there's going to be normal girls on the yacht, dude. Is every girl in Miami an OF chick? Go outside. Which is just hilarious because, first of all, he acts like every girl in Miami is a 304. I mean, one time he literally said, if a girl posts a picture of herself on a yacht, that means she's a 304. So, of course, people would get this idea from him. And then also, I think it's safe to assume that a fresh and fit yacht party isn't going to have the classiest group of girls attending it. You know, I think anybody could have told you that, but Myron and Walter were trying to reassure people that's not the case.
Fresh and Myron, you only have holes on the boat, ratchet hose. No, there's not, bro. There's all kinds. Whatever your flavor is, bro, you like the brown, you like the vanilla, you like the
Got
friggin'
a bunch of white girls. What are they talking
butter
about?
pecan, whatever.
What are you talking about?
I was supposed to, bro, they only see clips or something and say, oh, it's only ratchets. No, there's way more than that, bro. Either way, there's variety on the boat.
Bro, people be hating, man.
I know. See, once you've been to one of our yachts, you don't say that shit. So people are like, no.
Anyone that's been on the yacht, you guys already
They know what's up.
It's always the fucking weirdos. Well, I see. Yeah, I saw. Is that the one girl? It's like, bro, what the man? Like,
Listen, go to my Twitter. I posted a yacht that we did recently. It was a friggin' movie. And it's just like that, man. It's the same thing. Baddies on baddies, liquor,
Yeah.
food, good time.
so I think
And it's so funny that they're all surprised that fans of theirs would think the girls at their party wouldn't be the highest quality because, again, they're the same kind of girls you'd see on their podcast who they're usually trashing and making fun of. So obviously their fans would get this idea from them. And I skimmed through some of the live stream of their party, and for Myron to try to act like the girls there were just normal girls that have normal jobs that he would find respectable is completely ridiculous. You know, half the girls there look like they're strippers being paid to be there.
We
would have been exposed by now if that's the case.
100%.
But either way, this was not the classiest group of girls, to put it politely, even by fresh and fit standards. You know, these girls, there's a lot of twerking and a lot of really bad tattoos and plastic surgery. So people are roasting him in the comments. Like somebody said, you want me to pay you to hang out with strippers and OF girls? And also, so you want me to drop a stack to hang out with girls you complain about and warn men to stay away from? This makes sense. And what makes this even funnier is the day after Myron threw the yacht party, you know, where he charged guys $1,000 so strippers and OF girls could show up and drink and eat for free. He then went on Twitter and had the audacity to complain about a nightclub. He said, the first time I've been to a nightclub in almost a year, it's incredible to watch the talentless women cut the line while men wait and pay thousands of dollars for a section. Then said useless woman comes in the section and drinks the liquor that men paid so much for. It's truly a sight to see. So, of course, people in the comments were just roasting him, which how could he not expect? I mean, he posted this right after his yacht party. So somebody said, dude, you just threw a yacht party where only men had to pay to enter. You're part of the problem. And of course, Myron's like, you're an idiot. Men from all over the world with high net worth were able to meet and network. The women are a bonus. Yeah, so it's hilarious that he's trying to say that this is a high net worth networking event. I mean, this was like a networking event at a trashy strip club, pretty much. But Myron also talked about how the difference is his event brought together like-minded men that are red pill aware, but clubs just bring in people that want to simp. Even though, again, these red pill aware men are paying for a bunch of OF models and strippers to hang out with them. So I don't know how you could say it's any different from going to a club, other than it also being a networking event, I guess. But after all the backlash Myron got from this, I'd imagine they're probably done with it. I mean, also, he says he never goes to clubs. It sounds like he hates it. He also says he never drinks at all. Like on the yacht party, he's just pounding Red Bull the whole time, and he looked like he was wired. So I can't imagine he's really dying to do this again, but Walter, I'm sure, is. Let me know what you guys think, though, and then make sure you go check out my Patreon account. I have a ton of extra content on there, over 90 videos at this point, I'd say. And I talk a lot about Kill Tony. There's a lot of drama going on with that show that's really interesting and entertaining to keep up with. And also I talked about Bill Maher, who had the Hawk Tuah girl on a couple weeks ago, and it was the cringiest, most awkward podcast ever. Like, he was just being really creepy, and it was really hard to watch. So if you're interested in hearing about that or just a ton of other stuff, there's a lot to go through. Make sure you check it out. I'll put a link in the description.